Man, how you doing, everybody? Vasu Vaddiparty for the Make the Money and Run podcast minute, part 2. Today, we did the early one at 9 o'clock in the morning West Coast time, noon Eastern on the East Coast. Right now, it's 6 o'clock Eastern, about an hour away from all the games starting. Baseball starts at 7 o'clock. The NBA will go at 9 o'clock. The NBA draft lottery will go at 8:30. Those are all Eastern times. Right now, we're an hour away, as I said, 3 o'clock here on a beautiful Northern California day, a little too hot. If you can get out by the water, enjoy the water. We're here on Facebook Live. We're here on YouTube Live. If you missed any of the live broadcasts, including the worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment, which I'm going to give you here in a few minutes. It's not a full show today. Charlie O unavailable. As you know by now, Casey is taking some time off from the show. He's starting a new career. And so in the next few months, when football rolls around, I'm sure he'll get the itch. I talked to him today. He's still fired up. We're still going to get picks from him. We're still going to get picks from Charlie. And Charlie will be back with us. We'll have a show tomorrow and Friday. Stay tuned on our social media pages as to what times they will be. I'll post it tonight, as well as our records on the picks and everything that we're going to have. Charlie did text me some picks today. So here we go. We are here 3 times a week. As far as we're going right now, Make the Money and Run, as we said, on Facebook and YouTube. Download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcast. Find that little logo up there on the top right, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeart, and Google Podcasts will get you there, as well as a lot of other podcasting sites that I haven't heard of or haven't been on in a while. But it's going to be an interesting deal. All right, let's get right to it. As I said, this morning, the Cincinnati Reds broke their 5-game losing streak. But, oh, boy, it's never easy when you have wagers on these games. Cincinnati was up 1-0 on a Tucker Barnhart home run in the bottom of the fourth, the third inning for Barnhart, his 4th of the year. Ryan Jeffers hits his 5th home run. So both catchers hit home runs in the game. It's 2-1 Minnesota. Very quickly, the next inning, with some bad base running included by the Reds score 3 in the top of the 5th, highlighted by a Jesse Winker double to drive in 2. Eugenio Suarez drives in another run, but Winker coming around third. If you saw it today on TV or you heard it on the radio, on the podcast streaming on the Reds broadcast, he stopped and then started again. You ever do that with your car? Stop and start? That's what he did. He was a dead duck at the plate. It cost them a run. It would have made it 5-2 going into the bottom of the 5th inning. Instead, it was 4-2. Later in the game, the Minnesota Twins, we talked about them all year. They are just god-awful on defense. Miguel Sano playing third base, not a good match for him. And then miscommunication between the first baseman and the second baseman, Polanco. I forgot who the first baseman was. I think it was Nick Gordon that was in the game for the Twins, getting a start today for Rocco Baldelli. Anyway, the game, they ended up getting 3 runs there on a misplay by Sano, and then another base hit to drive in 2 more by Tucker Barnhart. He had a good day. 3 hits for Tucker Barnhart, drove in 3 runs. Jesse Winker as well. Tucker Barnhart with the home run. And a 7-2 lead going to the bottom of the 8th. The Reds bullpen, Wade Miley, pitched 7 innings, only allowed 2 runs. Great start by Wade Miley today, but he ends up with a no decision. Why does he end up with a no decision? Because the Twins score 5 in the bottom of the 8th inning to tie the game at 7. That does not happen if you want to be a good team. The Reds were fortunate to get out of that at 7-7. And Max Kepler hit a home run to make it 7-4, a 2-run home run. Ryan Larnach hit a solo home run to make it 7-5. And Alex Kirilloff hits a 2-run double off Lucas Sims. They had to go through 2 pitchers. Art Warren started the inning, gave up the first 2 runs, gave up the first 3 runs, and then the pitching change to Lucas Sims came in, gave up the other 2 runs, and then TJ Antone, just off the injured list, was able to get the final outs. He gave up the 2-run double to Kirilloff, so the inherited runners are on TJ Antone's record, but he doesn't give up any runs. Those runs charged Lucas Sims. 7-7 going to the top of the 9th. Reds get a couple of runners on. Tyler Naquin, who had a big day today, 4 for 4 today, including the big one, a 3-run home run in the top of the 9th off Hansel Robles. Remember him, Mets fans? Remember him, Angels fans? Throws 97 miles an hour, throws it right down the middle, throws it straight as a string. If you throw a pitch straight as a string in the major leagues, you're going to get hit, and you're going to get hit hard. To quote Al Davis in Mixing Sports Metaphors there, you got to hit it and hit it hard. He did. Left center field, deep shot, 10-7. And then the closer by de facto after Sims and TJ Antone couldn't get it done. Amir Garrett, the left-hander, comes in, goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Nelson Cruz had a big day for the Twins. He gets a base hit in the bottom of the ninth, but he is stranded at first as they were able to get out of it. A 10-7 win. I gave you that pick at noon today for the 1 o'clock Eastern game. 1-0 to start the day. We'll give you the picks later in the worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment. Hopefully we'll get a sponsor here for that because we're doing well. But anyway, the Reds win 10-7. They break their 5-game losing streak. Joey Votto did not play. He's serving the first of a 2-game suspension, although I thought Major League Baseball lowered it to 1 game after his outburst on Saturday. By the way, Joey Votto can do no wrong. All you got to do is get on social media and find out this young girl, Abigail, in San Diego, was crying that he got ejected. And so he sent a ball to her that said, "I'm sorry I didn't play the whole game," signed to Joey Votto. And then good on the Reds for bringing them back the next day on Sunday and him spending about 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes talking to her and talking about the Reds, talking about baseball, and just making her day, and the precious smile on that girl's face. Set it all for Joey Votto that he gets a bad rap. He is hot-headed. He is not all Canadians are hot-headed, but apparently his dad was hot-headed and it runs in the family. And he was joking about it on Father's Day that he gets hot-headed, and he was proud of his outburst on Saturday because he felt like he did not deserve to be ejected, or he did not deserve to be called out on strikes or swung on a check swing and then got ejected. David Bell got ejected as well too. So they spent all of Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening probably drinking a beer in the Reds locker room while they were watching their team blow another lead on Saturday. That was in the middle of their 5-game losing streak right there on Saturday as they got swept by the Padres over the weekend. All right, let's move on here. Let's talk some MLB here before we get to the NBA. We know there's an NBA game tonight. We know there's a draft lottery tonight that's going to precede the NBA. Look at some of the MLB notes. I saw these today. These are some of the big things that you should be watching out when you're judging for pitchers and when you're judging for betting lines and overs and unders. By the way, since the umpires have started checking for the tacky substances, let me tell you something. Let me go back to this, okay, because that's kind of a big deal that's going on right now. The tacky substance they're talking about is a stuff called spider tack. I have no idea what's in it, but apparently the spin rates have gone up exponentially, and so that's part of the problem with this. And then the sunscreen and the rosin mixed together allows pitchers to get a better grip. It doesn't really help them. The equivalent of that, I gave this example out the other day to the guys when we were talking about it. It's somebody who pitched, not at a high level, but certainly pitched. Getting a grip on a curveball and a slider and even a fastball is very important. And the hitters want to know that the pitchers know where the ball is going, and they don't want slippery hands or slipping out of the hands because they're throwing that ball at 95 miles an hour. And the hitter wants to know. The hitters are okay with it. It's the unfair advantages that the pitchers are getting that they're upset with. But hitters want to know that they're able to control the ball and able to throw strikes because they don't want to worry about 95 miles an hour coming and cracking any part of their body and ending careers or putting them on the injured list. Whatever the case is, hitters are okay with it. So the equivalent of the bullfrog and the bullfrog sunscreen and the rosin is the equivalent of going 40 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour speed limit zone. The spider tack, which is increasing the revolutions per minute, the RPMs per minute on the baseball, the sliders have a tighter spin, more revolutions. The curveballs are breaking heavier because you got a better grip on it. The fastballs are just exploding up there, and that's why the batting averages have been down. If you look at the batting averages since this edict came out from the commissioner's office about checking the pitchers in between innings, and when they come out to the mound, new pitchers are going to get checked right away to do that. Umpires were not enforcing it because the league didn't care. Now the league cares, and so they're doing it. It's not taking up that much time, and they're trying to get the cheating out of the way. Pitchers are complaining that they're not able to get a good grip. Tyler Glass now of the Tampa Bay Rays says that he changed his motion, and that's why he got hurt. Kevin Gossman said as much as well, too. Kevin Gossman having a great year, but his revolutions, his RPMs haven't changed that much. He's just having a great year. But there are guys like Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, guys like that who have been known or have been accused allegedly of doing things like that. So that's basically what it is. So this spider tack, as I said, 40 in a 35 mile per hour zone. This is the equivalent of going 100 miles an hour in a school zone. The letter of the law versus the intent of the law are two different things. And unfortunately, both are suspendable. You're going to get 10 days and you're going to get paid. So you know what I call that? I call that a vacation. So that's basically what it is. So let's hope that baseball has some common sense and they figure this out in the offseason. Remember, this is a contract year between the union and the owners. They did an emergency one in 2020 to get through 2021. And so the union contract will be up in 2021. Let's hope there's no snafus because baseball does not need another work stoppage. We'll see how that goes in December. All right, Vasu Vaddiparty, the Make the Money and Run podcast. Let's continue on with the MLB notes on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Send us any comments you have on our social media pages. You can email us at mtmarpodcast@gmail.com, as well as get on my page, Charlie's page, Casey's page. Casey's still part of the show. He's just not going to be on for a while, but he's part of the show. He'll still get picks out as well. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at MTMAR Podcast on Twitter, and the email I gave you, and then Instagram for all three of us as well, too. And Make the Money and Run page on Facebook is also where you can get it. The Chicago White Sox have the best starters ERA in all of baseball, and that's not surprising because where they are in the standings. They're 2 games up on Cleveland. Their ace, Lucas Giolito, goes tonight at Pittsburgh. They're on a 4-game losing streak, or the White Sox right now. Their run differentials come from the hundreds down to plus 88. Still good, but the Indians on their tail right now. The Indians got a big win at the Cubs last night. They're 2 games back in the standings. White Sox need to get back on a roll. They've got Pittsburgh. By the way, Pittsburgh has the lowest quality starts in Major League Baseball. Who has the highest quality start? Quality starts are 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less for your starting pitcher. Oakland, the Oakland starters have the most quality starts. It ain't because of Frankie Montas, and it ain't because of Jesus Luzardo. It's because Cole Irvin, who goes tonight, and Sean Manaea, and who's the other guy that's going? Chris Bassett, their best pitcher. Those 3 starters having themselves quite a start to the season. Chris Bassett, 8-2. They beat the Yankees and then lost the next 2 games and then lost last night. So the A's on a 3-game losing streak. They're a game back of Houston right now, but they have the most quality starts in Major League Baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers tied for first in the National League Central. Both lost last night. Milwaukee helped Arizona snap their 17-game losing streak. They have a .210 batting average. That's the lowest in Major League Baseball. Certainly you wouldn't expect that for a first-place team, but that's where they're at. They got to start hitting the ball. You got to start looking at unders. Their year has been based on Freddie Peralta, who goes tonight, Corbin Burns, who had the record for most strikeouts without allowing a walk to start the year, and, of course, Brandon Woodruff, the big hulking right-hander. They have had all good years. They're all under 3 in the ERA, and they're all pitching well, and their bullpen is locked down by Josh Hader, the big left-hander, coming out from Milwaukee. They're tied for first place in the National League Central with the Cubs, who got beat by Aaron Savali and the Indians. We talked about that this morning. Aaron Savali, get to know that name, folks. He's 11-2. He leads Major League Baseball in victories this year, and he beat the Cubs in Wrigley 3-0 over Aslay. And I mentioned again this morning, if you saw Javi Baez get pulled after the 4th inning, David Ross pulled him out because he had bad mental mistake on the bases, not knowing how many outs. Number one thing you got to do on the bases, know where the players are positioned on defense and know how many outs there are and what you're going to do if the ball's hit in a certain way, whether it's in the air or on the ground or whatever the case is. Javi Baez didn't. He got pulled after the 4th inning. He's a great player. They need him on the field, but you can't make mental mistakes. And David Ross, even though he's a teammate of his on the 2016 champions, is laying down the law. You cannot have mental mistakes on your team. Otherwise, you're not going to win. And it could have cost them a ball game. It didn't yesterday because Aaron Savali was so great. Tampa Bay Rays, Boston Red Sox open a series tonight. Tampa Bay on a 6-game losing streak. Didn't think I'd say that with the way Tampa Bay's pitching's going. They're going to have a bullpen game today. Andrew Kittredge out of the bullpen will start for Tampa Bay. Eduardo Rodriguez, a 6.2 ERA. He's 5-4. He had 19 wins 2 years ago, but he's not pitching that well. They're at home. This is a good chance for Tampa Bay to make up that half-game difference. They're 1 game back in the loss column. They all have 44 wins. They have 43 wins, Tampa Bay and Boston does. Oakland, Houston, and the Dodgers all have 44 wins. And the San Francisco Giants still have the most wins in Major League Baseball. 46 wins. They're going to Anaheim tonight to Disneyland to take on the Angels. Anthony DeSclafani will go. He's an underdog to Andrew Heaney, who's pitched better. Casey's favorite pitcher, Andrew Heaney, going tonight for the Angels. And then what a matchup tomorrow. And we'll talk about it tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 o'clock on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Some day games to talk about tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern. Kevin Gossman, 8-1 for the San Francisco Giants against Shohei Ohtani, who might not play tonight because he's going to pitch and hit tomorrow. He's got 23 home runs. He leads the big leagues, and he's 5-1. I'm sorry, he's 3-1 pitching. His ERA under 3, and he's going to go on the mound tomorrow and probably hit second in the Angels lineup. He is the closest thing that we've had in Major League Baseball since Babe Ruth, both pitching and hitting, and both doing it very well. And if you have not seen him run, by the way, from home to first or home to second or just running the bases in general, he's a big guy, 6'3", 230, but he can run. You talk about Michael Johnson speed. You talk about You talk about speed like that from the Olympians. He's got that kind of speed. He can turn little bloopers into doubles, and he can steal bases for you. And boy, that power. He leads the world in Major League Baseball with most home runs hit over 425 feet. He's got 11 of them this year, and we'll see how the Giants handle him for these next 2 games. But San Francisco has the most wins in the Major League. By the way, Shohei Ohtani going to be in the home run derby in Colorado. How far are those balls going to go? He hits the other way really well, but you can imagine he's going to try and pull it up to that mile-high section up there, 1 mile above sea level. All those purple seats you see at Coors Field, that designates a 1 mile up from sea. They're all purple up there in the upper deck and right field. So that designates the mile-high status of Denver. But Shohei Ohtani going to pitch on Wednesday. Tonight, DeSclafani and Andrew Haney. Boston a half a game up on the East on Tampa Bay. And Oakland, Houston, Dodgers, 44 wins. San Francisco again with 46 wins as well. Let's move on to the lines now as we talk about it. Some of the games this week that we have, some of the series going. Dodgers lost to San Diego last night. Yu Darvish pitched great for 6 innings. Bullpen came in and shut the Dodgers down. They are 2 games back of the Giants in the National League West. The Padres now 4.5 back in the National League Western Division. They would not be the wild card. They would not be the second wild card team right now in baseball. But if they win tonight, they'll be on a 6-game winning streak. They've won 5 in a row. I believe they won 5 in a row. Yeah, they swept the Reds, and they won. They've won 5 in a row. They beat the Reds, and they've also – see, who did they play in the series before the Reds? I'm trying to remember who they did. But it could be 6 games. You know what? Let's look it up while I look at that. But anyway, some of the series this week are the Dodgers and Padres. Dodgers already down 1 game in the series. It's a 3-game series. They've already had their 4-game series. Yeah, the San Diego Padres have won 5 in a row. They're looking for number 6 with Blake Snell going up against Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw, by the way, he pitches well in San Diego, but overall against the Padres, and these were some bad Padres teams, so you got to take that into account too. 22-8 lifetime with an ERA of about 2.2 against San Diego now. He's been getting hit a little bit hard. The Dodgers pitchers have been getting hit a little bit, probably because they're not allowed to use the substances in order to be able to get the ball, to control the ball. Trevor Bauer's had a rough go of it. Batting averages have gone up in June. All you got to do is look at the strikeouts and batting averages since June 1st, and they've gone up precipitously. So you can tell that there's been some effect on this. But the Dodgers, San Diego, Kershaw and Blake Snell tonight. Blake Snell pitched against the Dodgers in the World Series last year, has already pitched against them once this year. Atlanta and New York. Jacob deGrom is on fire, but Marcus Stroman is undefeated against Atlanta. Those are also the days with Toronto. He goes up against Charlie Morton, who threw a shutout last week against the St. Louis Cardinals at home on Friday night. That's going to be a good series. Atlanta trying to catch the Mets. They are 5 games back in the Mets in the National League East. They're 1 game behind the Phillies, who have Washington tonight, the Bryce Harper deal. But what a great pitching matchup. Max Scherzer coming off the injured list. He's a slight underdog in Philadelphia against Zach Wheeler, and what a year Zach Wheeler has had. Max Scherzer 12-4 against the Phillies. Wheeler 6-12 in his career against the Washington Nationals. So you got to think Washington has the edge, but it is Scherzer's first start coming off the injured list, and he's a bulldog, and he'll go after him. And Bryce Harper has not had any success against Max Scherzer. Talked about the Indians and the Cubs from last night, the rematch of the 2016 World Series. Cleveland's going to go with Eli Morgan, who pitched well against Baltimore, pitched okay against Baltimore. That was a big over on Thursday last week when they drubbed the Baltimore Orioles 11 runs, 11-6 or something like that they beat the Orioles. But Aaron Savali pitched well last night. They're going to look for the second win in that series behind Eli Morgan. Kyle Hendricks, who pitches well in Wrigley Field, he's a $1.95 favorite for the Cubs tonight. But it's going to be an interesting matchup to see how Cleveland handles the craftiness of a young right-hander, Kyle Hendricks, who's, I guess he's not that young. He's been in the big leagues for a while. And then we said the Giants are going to go down to Anaheim for 2 games, going to take on the LA Angels, who are playing well. The Angels are in 4th place. They're a game back of Seattle. Seattle has Colorado tonight. We'll get to the Lions in a second, but Seattle has Colorado tonight in Seattle. They're 7 games back of Houston, 6 games back of Oakland. Oakland and Houston have the same number of wins, but 2 losses behind thanks to this 3-game losing streak for the Oakland A's. Oakland 7-3 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. The Astros 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 8 in a row. Their run differential is plus 120. Excuse me, I had to cough on that. Plus 120. Their bats have come alive. Alex Bregman on the injured list, but their bats have come alive. Granted, they played Baltimore, and they had who they have over the weekend. They had the White Sox. They swept the White Sox 4 straight games, so that was a good matchup for them. The White Sox are still licking their wounds from the weekend in Houston. They got walked off twice in that series, did the White Sox by the Astros. So they're an 8-game winning streak, plus 120, 9-1 in their last 10. You got to think Houston's a good play tonight. They're in Baltimore. They nearly had a no-hitter, combined no-hitter last night. See how the weather is in Baltimore. Zach Greinke goes for the Astros tonight. And then like I said, the Angels, they are at 36-36 at 500. They're 8 games back. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They lost their Sunday game. They had a day off today. They're minus 12 in run differential. They've lost their last game, but they were playing well. The Arizona series kind of turned them around a little bit last week. So we'll see how the Angels do. The Angels bats can be potent. Justin Upton's starting to swing the bat a little bit. Rendon's still a little injured right now, but Shohei Ohtani, he might not play tonight because of the wear and tear of pitching and hitting tomorrow. I don't know if Joe Madden's going to DH him tonight or not. Let's see if we have the lineups. I don't think we have the lineups yet for the game. Let's see if they have them out here. They are not out yet. Oh, there they are. The Angels. Yep, he's going to DH and bat second. Upton, Ohtani, Ward, Walsh, Rendon back in the lineup at third. Max Stassi catching. Iglesias playing a great shortstop and hitting the ball. Luis Rengifo in right field, and David Fletcher puts bat on the ball. Number 9, the Giants lineup is going to be Slater, Yastrzemski, Ruff is back in the lineup. Ruff off the injured list. Posey hitting 4th. Brandon Belt hitting 5th at first. Flores at 3rd for Longoria, who'll be out for a few more weeks. Crawford at short hitting 7th. Donovan Solano at second base hitting 8th. And Mauricio Dubon going to play center field. So they're going to go with the right-handed hitting lineup, or as Gabe Kapler calls it, like hockey, line changes where they've got all the right-handed hitters in there. Do you have any left-handed hitters in there? Belt and Crawford, 2 left-handed hitters in the lineup, but you want them in for the defense. Brandon Belt hitting pretty well as we get to it, and Brandon Crawford having an MVP-type year. So let's get to the lines real quick before we take a break here. The National League lines we have are not up. Oh, I didn't save it. Oh, they're there. Okay. National League lines today. The Philadelphia Phillies, 115. That's Zach Wheeler and Max Scherzer, 6.5 the total. You can see why. Atlanta, slight favorite over the Mets, 106. 7 the total. Mets don't score a lot of runs, but Marcus Stroman, we said undefeated against the Braves in his career, both with Toronto and New York. He's a 104, slight underdog, pretty much even money. 7 the total. Freddie Peralta, one of the 3 horses for the Brewers, and that 210 team batting average goes tonight for the Brewers. They are in Arizona. Arizona snapped their 17-game losing streak. The pitchers for that game in Milwaukee are Peralta and Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen, probably the ace of the Diamondbacks right now, with Madison Bumgarner not having a good year. Zach Gallen coming off the injured list, 1-2, 3.99 ERA. He got roughed up by the Giants last week in 3 innings. He's probably on a pitch count as well too. And then the Angels, 113. So the Giants a slight favorite. Actually, that line went up to 125. So the Dodgers are 113, 7.5 with Clayton Kershaw and Blake Snell. Kershaw 8-6, 3.36 ERA. Blake Snell, something wrong with Blake Snell. He walks the house. He has 1 bad inning every game. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They need him to pitch well if they're going to contend the rest of the year in the National League West. All right, let's hit the American League games real quick as we continue on the Make the Money and Run podcast live on Facebook and live on YouTube. Garrett Cole going to go 260 tonight against the Kansas City Royals. Brady Singer pitching for the Royals. 7.5 the total. If the Royals can score enough runs, that total should be hit because I think the Yankees are going to hit the Royals pretty hard this weekend. Zach Greinke, we told you, going up against the Orioles tonight. Where are they? Against Jorge Lopez, who is 2-5, 2-8, 5.95 ERA. Greinke 7-2, a 3.74 ERA. The over/under 9.5. That's going to be all in Houston. Like I said, they're plus 120 in run differential right now. So Zach Greinke looks pretty good going into Baltimore tonight. Tampa Bay, a bullpen game. Andrew Kittredge going to start. They're going to go an inning each. Ryan Yarbrough, their second guy in on these bullpen games, will come in and probably vulture another win. He had 17 wins 2 years ago as a reliever for the Tampa Bay Rays. So 7.5 the total there. Boston hasn't scored a lot of runs the last few games, and Tampa Bay on a 6-game losing streak. Oakland 130 at Texas, 3-game losing streak for the A's right now. The Rangers just awful, but they did get 5 in support of Kyle Gibson, who's been their best pitcher off Frankie Montas last night. So the A's look to break that 3-game losing streak. Cole Irvin, one of the better pitchers for the A's tonight, 9 the total in Texas tonight. And then the Chicago White Sox with Lucas Giolito, 7.5. We said the lowest ERA by starters for the White Sox this year, 7.5. He's going against Tyler Anderson, 3-7, 4.89 ERA. I'll give you the picks on some of these games as we get to it at the end. The worldwide famous unsponsored picks of the Make the Money and Run show. The interleague games, we got 5 interleague games tonight. Miami Marlins, 113, 7.5. They have Toronto. Toronto can hit the ball, but in that park, that's a big park. Sandy Alcantara, their ace for the Marlins going tonight. Slight favorite, 113 against the former Dodger. Ross Stripling, who's pitched well for the Blue Jays, 7.5 the total there. No DH in that game, so that might hurt the Blue Jays a little bit. But Bichette and Guerrero on fire right now, but they have not played very well. They are only 4-6 in their last 10, but they won 2 straight at Baltimore. They're at 500. They're 7 games back of the Red Sox and 5 back of the Tampa Bay Rays by loss column right now. And the Yankees in 3rd place. They're 4.5 back. They won their last 2 games against the A's over the weekend. They start this series with Kansas City. So Baltimore. So let's see, where are we at here? Interleague Miami, Alcantara against Toronto. St. Louis is at Detroit. St. Louis does not hit the ball well. Detroit's got pretty good pitching. This Tarek Skubal that's going tonight for the Tigers, he's pretty good. That's the low line for a pretty good St. Louis team. 4-6 in their last 10. They lost their last game, which was the second game of a doubleheader on Sunday Night Baseball. By the way, how's Sunday Night Baseball on Fox looking on the weekends this last weekend was pretty interesting. They did not get their money's worth. They got a 7-inning game on Sunday Night Baseball for ESPN with the Braves and Cardinals, and then a 7-inning game for the 2 weeks ago for the Giants and Nationals after the rain delay last week. So not good programming. I'm sure they want 9 innings plus to get all their commercials in. Charlie was talking about how salespeople are in these types of situations, so they got to pack as many commercials as they can to it. Anyway, St. Louis 113, Oviedo going up against Tarek Skubal tonight, 9 the total. I don't think it's going to get to 9. I think that's probably a good underplay right there. It's not on my official picks. We'll get to those in a second. Kyle Hendricks pitches really well in Chicago, and after the loss yesterday, they usually come back and play well. The Indians, they sometimes struggle against pitchers like Kyle Hendricks. He doesn't throw a lot of fastballs, throws a lot of changeups and a lot of cutters. And so Kyle Hendricks, almost a 2-1 favorite, 8.5 against Eli Morgan tonight. Depending on the wind, anybody in Chicago, send me a note on Facebook here. Tell me what the weather's like. 8.5 for Kyle Hendricks seems kind of high, but Eli Morgan gave up a lot of runs to Baltimore last week at home, so it could be very close. The LA Angels, 125 with Andrew Heaney going up against DeSclafani. San Francisco Giants, I'm not sure if they're getting a lot of respect in Major League Baseball. 46 wins. Their offense kind of goes in and out a little bit. Giants are 7-3 in their last 10. They did win their last game against the Phillies. They took 2 out of 3 from Philadelphia over the weekend, and they have a 2-game lead on the Dodgers, 4.5 on the Padres. Colorado and Arizona, afterthoughts in the National League West, though the Rockies are playing better, 5-5 in their last 10. Of course, the Diamondbacks snapped their 17-game losing streak yesterday with a victory over Milwaukee. But the Giants, Anthony DeSclafani, who's pitched really well for them. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Anaheim, but I'm going to guess it's probably pretty warm. All of California is pretty warm right now, so 9 might be a good total for that game. But DeSclafani pitching really well, and he could shut down that Angels offense. You just got to watch out for Ohtani, Rendon, and Justin Upton are having pretty good last couple of weeks for the Angels, who have played better. And then Seattle, Chris Flexen. If you haven't seen Chris Flexen pitch, he pitched in Korea last year. He's one of the main men in the Seattle Mariners rotation. They are not that far out, believe it or not. They're one hot streak away from getting back to respectability. They are 2 games over 500, 7 games back in the division behind Oakland and Houston. They've won 4 in a row now, and they're 7-3 in their last 10. Chris Flexen, $1.57 tonight. He's going to go up against a one-time ace, Kyle Freeland, for the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland had 18 wins a few years ago for the Rockies, even pitching in Coors Field. So he's somebody to be dealing with. It's going to be probably pretty cool in Seattle. Those of you that are watching from Seattle or from the upper Northwest, kindly send a weather report to me so I can make my pick on this. But Seattle on a 4-game winning streak, moving right along. All right, that's the baseball for the today. We'll get the picks later. Coming up in 30 seconds, we'll have the NBA and NHL talk, and then we'll get to the pick segment on the Make the Money and Run podcast minute, part 2. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty for Charlie O and Casey Freelove. We'll be back in 30 seconds to talk NBA and NHL. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We got Taylor Phillips watching us right now. A lot of other people that were on the call yesterday with Casey having his last show yesterday. We want to acknowledge Stables Media and our loyal fans, David and Robbie as well. Joe Madden, Kent Sterling, Tony Russo came on to wish Casey well, as did Charlie and I. So we'll be back in 30. We'll talk NBA. We'll talk NHL when we come back. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 22nd, 2021 for part 2. See you in 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty here for part 2 of the podcast minute. We did our first podcast at noon Eastern this afternoon, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Gave you the one pick on the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, I squeaked it out. It was 7-2, feeling pretty good in the 8th inning. Reds bullpen, oh boy, 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th to tie the game, but Tyler Naquin saved the day for me to start me off 1-0. An underdog, Wade Miley pitched great. Naquin 4 for 4. Tucker Barnhart hit a home run. Kepler and Larnach hit home runs. Ryan Jeffers hit a home run for the Twins as well too. But their defense in the top of the 9th inning, or in the top of the 8th inning, was horrendous, and that added 3 more runs. If they had those outs back, and were able to get out of that inning, this could have been a Twins victory right now, and it would have been bad for me. But 7-2 going to the bottom of the 8th, 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th by Minnesota off Lucas Sims and TJ Anton. TJ Anton coming off the injured list. Didn't pitch badly, but didn't pitch well. He didn't give up any runs, but he gave up the hit to Alex Kirilloff that tied the game at 7. But then the Reds got base runners off Hansel Robles. Remember him, Mets fans? 10-7. Tyler Naquin, the 3-run home run to give them the 10-7 lead. Amir Garrett goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 outs mixed in with a Nelson Cruz single. He had 3 hits, 2 singles, and a double for Nelly Cruz. Big boomstick continues to chug away at 42 years old. What a player he's been. What a future Hall of Famer he's going to be as well, too. So you can catch us on Facebook and YouTube Live. If you miss any of the live broadcasts, we're going to reshuffle the deck here a little bit. Charlie and I, we're going to come up with new times to come on so that we can get to you earlier, so we can give you the games that we like in the day and we don't miss any of the early morning action, especially with baseball. We're going to get some more day games, Wednesdays and Thursdays, particularly day games on those days to get to. But you can download, subscribe, rate and review anywhere you get your podcasts. Look for that logo, MTMAR, Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Thanks to everybody again on Facebook Live and YouTube Live for joining us live, as we said. So anyway, let's get to the NBA. Phoenix and Los Angeles tonight. That's game 1. Let's go back to this one. How about the NBA? Game 2 tonight. Phoenix 4.5, 225.5. Phoenix won 120 to 114. Devin Booker had 40 points on Sunday afternoon. They take a 1-0 series lead. No Kawhi Leonard tonight for the Clippers. No Chris Paul for game 2 for the Phoenix Suns. Here's my question about Chris Paul. If he's been in protocol for COVID and they're doing the standard protocol, shouldn't he be already examined and shouldn't he be allowed to play if he's been vaccinated? So it's not that they have to tell us, but they should let people know if he's going to play or what the reason is. And for the sake of the vaccinations, for the sake of COVID, people look up to athletes. And not that he has to detail his personal health history, but I'm just curious as to why that they haven't given him the okay to be cleared yet in COVID. They say he's doing fine, and they say that he will be ready to go. So it's just a matter of how many games. Maybe if Kawhi Leonard's not playing for the Clippers, then maybe they can afford to have Chris Paul sit out. But right now, Devin Booker has 40 points in the series. Cameron Payne played well on Sunday. He hit big 3-pointers, played pretty good defense. The Clippers starters, let's get to the NBA notes. The Clippers starters were no-show on Sunday. 78 points they only scored. Paul George had most of them. They had 99 on Friday night in their closing game against Utah, so definitely a precipitous drop. Credit Phoenix defense with that as well, too. And DeAndre Ayton has been the man for Phoenix in the middle. He's playing great defense. He's a good rim protector. Jay Crowder, the veteran presence there, has hit some key shots. Cameron Payne, playing in the place of Chris Paul, say that 3 times, has been really good for the Phoenix Suns. And Monty Williams, a great coach, well-deserved coach of the year. James Jones, the former Miami Heat, LeBron James teammate, won a couple of rings with Miami. He's the executive. He's the president of the Phoenix Suns. He put that team together, and he won the Executive of the Year award. They gave that before the game on Sunday. So Phoenix, as we said, Phoenix, a 4.5-point favorite, 222.5. The game ended up at 234 on Sunday. Clippers ended up making a show of it. Terrence Mann didn't have as good a game as he did Friday night, but he's in the starting lineup. Seminole Nation, speak loudly. Let me hear you. 222.5. That total could go over. Phoenix defense needs to step up a little bit if they're going to cover the 4.5. I had the Clippers on Sunday at +4, and they were right there in covering, but a couple of bad plays toward the end. Reggie Jackson, thinking he's Mr. October, taking shots that he normally wouldn't take if he was on other teams, but he's been a good addition for the Clippers in the absence of Kawhi Leonard. But Paul George has to have some help from Marcus Morris Sr., Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann has got to step up, and Zubac has got to step it up offensively as well as being a rim protector for the Clippers. Tomorrow night, Game 1, we'll have a preview of that. Game 1 of the Milwaukee Bucks, Atlanta Hawks, the 3 seed and the 5 seed. Check your bingo cards. If you have the number 3 seed and the number 5 seed, neither one of them named the Philadelphia 76ers or the Atlanta Hawks. People tearing up Ben Simmons the last 2 days in Philadelphia, which takes the pressure off the Philadelphia Phillies for sure after their horrible weekend in San Francisco. But Ben Simmons, people say he's a superstar. He's a great player, but he's not a superstar type player. You have to be able to do at least all the facets of the game well. He doesn't shoot. He can't shoot. Free throw percentage was 32%. Charlie KCI and any of you out there could go to the free throw line and hit better than 1 out of 3 over a stretch of time. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Doc Rivers admitted they're going to try and get a shooting coach for him over the summer. He's not going to play in the Olympics for his native Australia. Great. Congratulations. He's not going to do that. You should have done that during the year because you knew you were going to need him. Now, he passed the ball well. He rebounds the ball well. He did shut down Trae Young a little bit, but you just got to figure that you got to do something with Ben Simmons in order for him to be effective. And if he wants to be Robin to Batman, that's Joel Embiid, who had a great series. May have complained a little too much, but Joel Embiid is the man right now. And if you want to be Robin to his Batman, you better make sure you get the right utility belt. For those that are old enough to remember the old TV series, the Bat utility belts for Batman and Robin. So Milwaukee 7, 226. Tomorrow, Trae Young, Kevin Huerter. What a game Kevin Huerter had in Game 7 in Philadelphia. 27 points. Trae Young had 21. Clint Capella had double figures in both points and rebounds. John Collins played well as well, too. They're going to have that kind of effort to stop the Milwaukee Bucks, especially in Milwaukee. It's going to be rocking, and they're going to have full capacity. Giannis had 40 points on Saturday night against the Brooklyn Nets, and Middleton's got to shoot better. He had 23 points on 26 shots, only went 9 of 23. That's not going to do it over a 7-game series against a team that can score. By the way, Nate McMillan, we've said this 1,000 times since he took over for Lloyd Pierce when Lloyd Pierce got fired early in February. Nate McMillan's defense, his characteristics of defense when he played, his characteristics of defense have brought their team point per game average in terms of efficiency from 114 down to 102. That's a 12-point difference. That doesn't happen. Think of it like baseball. The more at-bats you have, the harder it is to change your batting average. It's not like starting out the season 1 for 3 and then going 5 for 5, and all of a sudden you've upped your average 600 points. To drop 12 points in defensive efficiency over the last 40 games is not easy to do, and they did it. They're playing great defense. They're double teaming where they need to double team. They're going after it, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the opponents. And you can ask the Philadelphia 76ers about the Atlanta Hawks defense. By the way, heard this today. The last championship for the Atlanta Hawks, they weren't even in Atlanta. They were the St. Louis Hawks. Bob Pettit, just lost half my audience there. 1950s, the St. Louis Hawks. Bob Pettit won a championship. Last time the Milwaukee Bucks won a championship, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was still named Lou Alcindor. 1970, 1971 Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of you weren't even born then. I was 2 years old when he won that championship for Milwaukee. The last championship they've seen, they've never sniffed an NBA Finals since then. The Phoenix Suns have been to many conference finals, but they have not been to the NBA Finals in 25 years with Charles Barkley, Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson, and Paul Westphal on that crew when he was head coach, and Danny Ainge was on that team as well too. they're trying to get there, and they've got as good a shot as any right now. They're probably playing the best basketball of any of these 4 teams that are left right now. The Clippers will have something to say about that as well. All right, let's get to the NHL here real quick before we get to picks. Las Vegas, their series tied at 2 games apiece. They're a 240 favorite tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. We talked about the Montreal Canadiens. Carey Price looking like he's 25 years old, playing goalie like he hasn't played in a long time. Montreal, the last team to get in that Canadian division. We're not getting paid by the sponsors, so we don't need to say which sponsor it was. But the All-Canada teams that played in that division, 240 and 5 is the total. Tampa Bay, 155. They got a win last night. Rudder was the guy's name that got cross-checked against the board, cost the Islanders a 10-minute penalty, got ejected, and then they turned it on. They just absolutely drummed them from the rest of that point on. 8-0. The Tampa Bay Lightning are not hanging on against the Islanders. Joe Madden, just wanted to let you know that. 155, the total 5 for tomorrow night. They can close it out on the island with a 3-2 series lead. But this Las Vegas-Montreal game tonight will be very interesting to see if Montreal can come back after that stunning overtime loss in Game 4 back north of the border. And good to see Montreal and good to see Canada allowing the transportation and the passport of citizens going back and forth. Hopefully the Blue Jays will get back to Toronto at some point during the year. So that's where we're at right now, 2 games apiece. Game 5 tonight in Las Vegas, and then Game 6 tomorrow for Tampa Bay and the Islanders. And this series will continue at least to 6 games for Vegas and Montreal. If the Islanders somehow can find a win, Game 7 in hockey, I told you, Game 7 hockey playoffs, some of the best things you ever see. It's hard to change the channel when you see a Game 7, especially in the third period or overtime, when anything can happen. So that's where we're at in terms of hockey. All right, our worldwide famous unsponsored picks tonight is where we're going to go. Vasu Vaddiparty here, the Make the Money and Run podcast. We'll be with you. We'll give you the times. We'll post it on social media. We'll give you the time so you can join us a little earlier so you can get to the games. You're not missing any of the games. We got 20 minutes until first game starts. So if you get this, get out to the window and start doing it. 6:42 on the East Coast. First games go off at 7 o'clock Eastern. The NBA game going off at 9 o'clock tonight, preceded by the NBA draft lottery. If you missed it, I gave you the percentages of all the teams that are in the draft lottery. There are a couple of trade exceptions that are in there. Golden State, if the Minnesota Timberwolves fall below 3, that will become the Golden State Warriors pick. And then there's various other ramifications that they'll discuss on TV tonight as well, too. Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Download, subscribe to the podcast anywhere. You can check our records against us for the games. I'm 1-0 to start today with the Reds win 10-7 in Minnesota. They split that series, break a 5-game losing streak. Hansel Robles gave it up for the Twins in the top of the 9th inning, and the Reds were able to close it out after blowing a 7-2 lead going into the bottom of the 8th inning. All right, Charlie texted me. We're going to have picks here for Charlie right now. As we get to it, Charlie will go with the LA Clippers, Phoenix Suns, under 222.5. Charlie, did you see they went to 234 yesterday? He thinks Phoenix is going to play better defense. They're 4.5-point favorites, which is a half-point higher than they were on Sunday. But he thinks that Phoenix's defense will come out and stop the Clippers. And for the most part, they did. They held the Clippers starters to 78 points, where Utah did not do that on Friday night, allowing the 5 starters to get 99 points in the game. So under 222.5 for Charlie O. And then in baseball, he's going to go with the Dodgers. He sees Clayton Kershaw, 22-8 lifetime against the San Diego Padres in his career. Blake Snell will always have one bad inning where he'll walk about 5 guys. He'll be upset when he gets pulled in the bottom of the 5th inning. I don't think he's gone past 5 innings in any of his starts this year for Jace Tingler and the Padres. Dodgers bullpen still an issue. They still have injuries right now. They didn't do much on offense last night. Dodgers minus 120 on the road at San Diego to even up the series. It's a 3-game series that will conclude tomorrow night, 10 Eastern. 10 Eastern tonight, 10 Eastern tomorrow, 7 o'clock on the West Coast. Charlie also thinks the Tampa Bay Rays are going to snap their 6-game losing streak. It's a bullpen game. Andrew Kittredge going to start. He's going to go an inning and a third, whatever Kevin Cash feels. And who's to question him? He's got one of the best teams in baseball right now, and they have the best record before the 6-game losing streak took place. I think it's a big series with Boston. They're a half game back in the standings, and they're 1 game back in the loss column. They both have 44 wins. So those are Charlie's 3 picks. The under in the basketball game, 222.5 between the Clippers and the Suns, and then the Dodgers minus 120 on the road at San Diego. Tampa Bay minus 125 at home against those Boston Red Sox. Okay, for me, get ready. Get your pen out. Download the podcast tonight. Tampa Bay, I'm going with the Rays to snap the 6-game losing streak as well, too. Minus 121 on the line. Chicago White Sox, Lucas Giolito, they've got a 4-game losing streak going. They're going to snap that tonight. They're at Pittsburgh. Lucas Giolito, Tyler Anderson. The Chicago White Sox, and we saw this last week, they murder left-handed pitching. Tyler Anderson, not as good as the Rays pitchers were last week, Ryan Yarbrough, because they got 7 runs off of him. Tyler Anderson, I feel for you tonight, buddy. Pittsburgh Pirates have the lowest number of quality starts in all of Major League Baseball, only 13. Lucas Giolito beat the Rays last week. Actually, he was ahead on the Rays. The Rays came back and tied it up. The bullpen got the victory on the walk-off. 170 for Lucas Giolito tonight on the road at Pittsburgh. Talked about Max Scherzer and Zach Wheeler tonight. Zach Wheeler 6-12 in his career against Washington. Max Scherzer 12-4 in his career against Philadelphia. He's been with Washington. This is the Bryce Harper matchup. Bryce Harper, I don't think he's made barely any contact against Max Scherzer in his career. 105, he's the underdog. He's coming off the injured list. The line isn't very high. Philadelphia just came off a rough weekend. They are horrible defensively. They make so many mental mistakes. You just watch those series against San Francisco. They were lucky to get one game out of it because they can hit. But I think Max Scherzer tonight at plus 105 as an underdog. You can't take for granted these aces. When these aces are an underdog, like last night we went with the Dodgers and Urias. It hurt us last night. But I think Max Scherzer, another underdog, another great ace for the Washington Nationals at plus 105. Chicago Cubs, 195 with Kyle Hendricks. He pitches great at Wrigley. Aaron Savali got the victory for the Indians. Eli Morgan making his third major league start. Going to feel the friendly confines a little bit tonight at the back. The bats for Chicago will come out. Almost 2-1 favorite for Kyle Hendricks against the Cleveland Indians, who are 2 games back of the White Sox. The Cubs are tied with the Brewers coming into the night at 40-31, I believe. 40-31. Is that right? 40-33. They both lost their last games. Milwaukee to Arizona last night, Chicago to Cleveland. But Kyle Hendricks going to win tonight, snap that 1-game losing streak, get a victory over the Indians. Seattle, we told you about Chris Flexen. Seattle on a winning streak here. Seattle, 4 in a row they've won. 7 out of the last 10. They play really well at home. Colorado's god-awful. Kyle Freeland coming off injuries the last few years. I feel for Colorado. I feel for my buddy's son, Ryan McMahon, having a good year with Colorado, but they're just not very good right now. Seattle trying to increase their 4-game winning streak to 5, and they've got Colorado. They're 2 games above 500. They're trying to make a move on the A's and the Astros in the American League West, or at least getting wild card contention. And then tonight in the NBA, the San Francisco Giants, Anthony DeSclafani has pitched great. 1 bad start against the Dodgers, and his ERA is about 2.2 if you take that Dodgers start out that he had about 3 Sundays ago in San Francisco when the Dodgers came in and swept. Oh, that was my birthday weekend. So May 23rd was the day that Anthony DeSclafani gave up 10 runs in 2 2/3 innings. You take that start out, DeSclafani's ERA is right around, it might even be under 2. I think it's like 1.95 or something like that without that 10-run outburst by the Dodgers on May 23rd. So going with the Giants tonight, Ohtani in the lineup as the DH. He is scheduled to start tomorrow for the Angels against Kevin Gausman. What a matchup that's going to be, and he'll hit and bat second. He'll pitch and hit and bat second in the lineup tonight and probably do so tomorrow in the American League Park. So good on Joe Madden for putting him in there. The Angels are right there. They're 8 back in the division, another hot streak like they had. They won 6 in a row 2 weeks ago. Giants are coming off the victory, the 2 out of 3 wins over the weekend against Philadelphia. They need to continue to keep going to keep the Dodgers and Padres at bay. They lead the major leagues in victories with 46 wins, 46-26 tonight, going up against Andrew Haney, who's pitched pretty well in his last 3 starts. But I think this Giants offense can get to him. The Giants hit left-handed pitching pretty well too. They've got their right-handed hitting lineup in there. Austin Slater needs to get going right away for the Giants from that leadoff spot, playing in right field. And then Mauricio Dubon's going to play in center field as well too. Crawford and Belt, the only 2 left-handers in the lineup for the Giants. All right, the one NBA game tonight. I don't know who's going to get the number 1 pick. Those ping pong balls have already been decided. Ernst & Young have the envelopes under lock and key. I don't know if they still use the handcuffs on that for all you people that are into handcuffs out there. I don't know if they have the handcuffs for the Ernst & Young suitcase, briefcase, whatever you want to call it, the combination lock briefcase that everybody used to have in the 80s. All the picks are in there. They're in the sealed envelopes. They're all going to put them on there tonight at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN, preceding the Phoenix Suns, who are going to cover tonight against the LA Clippers. 4.5 points. The Point spread tonight, 220, 223.5. What did I say? 222.5 for Charlie on the under tonight, but I think Phoenix will come out. They'll take a 2-0 series lead. Right now, Devin Booker's on fire. You watch that Denver series, he tore up the Denver Nuggets, who are not very good defensively, and they were missing Jamal Murray, and that was the story last week. And now Kawhi Leonard's going to be out. I don't think Phoenix is getting enough respect as to how good they are. And just because Kawhi Leonard's not there, don't diminish what the Phoenix Suns have doing. They could end up winning this Eastern Conference Finals and representing the Western Conference in the NBA Championship, which will start in about 10 days. But 4.5 points for Phoenix tonight against the Clippers. Clippers need this game, but I don't think it's going to happen. Give the 4.5 points for the Phoenix Suns. All right. Want to mention a couple of things here. We'll be back. We'll be back with you. Keep checking our social media pages. We'll tell you what time. I try to post it every day. Charlie and I are going to put picks up there. Casey will jump in every once in a while with his picks, though he won't be on the air with us as well. Facebook and YouTube live for your broadcasts. If you want to catch us live, the unsponsored worldwide famous picks at the end of each show, and then all the podcasting outlets where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review. Apple and Spotify seem to be the best, but you can get to iHeartRadio, Google, and Spotify, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeart, Google, and of course Apple Podcasts for those of you that have Apple products. All right, one last thing I wanted to say here. It was kind of a rough weekend for me personally. Just wanted to send my condolences to my friend Rob Clark and everybody that knew him. He passed away over the weekend, 51 years old, way too young. He had seizures and stuff going on with him for the last 5 years that I've known him. One of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. I met him 5 years ago. We talked a lot of sports. We talked a lot of stuff. He worked over here in South San Jose for the M&N Country Club, coincidentally in the area that I grew up. So a lot of the members I grew up with or their parents that I knew ever since I was a child. He bartended over there. I used to go visit him every once in a while. But for 5 years, I knew him from Palo Alto all the way through Sunnyvale. And I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody that knows him. I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry for my loss too. He was a good man, and I hope that he's in a better place. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Don't get a chance to do that very often, and I don't want to do that very often in terms of announcing this type of stuff. But he deserves some recognition for the things that he's done and the friend that he was. And he'll lecture and he'll be stern and he'll throw 4-letter words out there, but it's all from a good place. And I'm sorry for everybody that knew him on your loss, and it means a lot to me to have gotten to know him and be friends with him for the short 5 years that I did. All right. On that note, thank you again to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live podcasts. You can get them anywhere you want. Check back on social media to find out when we're going to broadcast live again. Charlie O and I will let you know, and we'll have picks just about every day for you. And we're going to try and do it earlier because we know baseball is going to have more day games as we go forward. That's going to do it for part 2 of the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 22nd, 2021. I am Vasu Vaddiparty. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy the games. Good luck with your wagers. And please hit us up and let us know what games you want. What do you want us to talk about? We'll be more than happy to do that. Have a great afternoon. Have a great evening. We will see you again very soon on the Make the Money and Run podcast powered by Stables Media. Take care.